Hello and welcome. In this video, we will be discussing SharePoint recovery with Unitrends Virtual Backup. Before I walk you through the process of actually restoring SharePoint data, I first want to highlight a couple key points that are worth knowing about this solution, starting with the partnership between Unitrends and Kroll OnTrack. Kroll OnTrack is being used to deliver the actual SharePoint recovery functionality. That solution comes with the Enterprise Edition of Unitrends Virtual Backup, which is also part of the download package with the UVB solution. So why exactly did we choose Kroll OnTrack to partner with? One being that they're well versed when it comes to data recovery in the IT industry. They also have broad SharePoint version support, starting with 2007, 2010, and also including the latest 2013. From an integration standpoint, there's an easy tie-in to Unitrends Virtual Backup by leveraging the file recovery process to then leverage Kroll to recover SharePoint data. I will walk you through this process in an actual demonstration here in a minute, though. Some features and benefits of the Kroll OnTrack solution. The level at which you can restore SharePoint data does vary. Some examples of those are documents, links, even full SharePoint sites. So you do have some flexibility at what level you restore data when it comes to SharePoint specifically. The actual recovery of SharePoint data can take place back to the live SharePoint site. You also have the option of exporting this data externally outside of SharePoint if you need to distribute it to other organizations or other team members. You also can restore across SharePoint versions. So let's say you're currently at 2007, you have a new deployment of 2010. You can restore your data from the 2007 deployment into your 2010 deployment. So you can restore across SharePoint versions that aren't similar. And in the case you're not really sure what you're looking for, there is a search field within the Kroll solution that allows you to identify what types of elements or items you're looking to restore and capture those. To quickly cover the actual installation process, as I mentioned before, the Kroll OnTrack solution is bundled with the Enterprise Edition of UVB. It is also included in the download package. If you navigate to the package and look for the Exchange SharePoint Recovery directory, you'll find the exe installer for the Kroll solution to be installed on a Windows machine. The Windows machine you choose to install into is of your choosing. It can be the SharePoint server, a dedicated Windows server, or it could be your local workstation that you manage everything else on. There is also another component called the ACTS, or Agent for Content Transfer Service. This provides the mechanism to deploy, or restore directly back into a SharePoint web server. Right, so if you have one web server, you install the agent on that server. If you have a farm, you just choose one web server to install the agent into. And then to license the actual Kroll software, there's an INI file that will be given to you by Unitrends. You simply copy that INI file to the directory in which you install Kroll into. You now have a licensed running software version of Kroll. So with that, let's go ahead and walk you through the process of restoring SharePoint data with Kroll and Unitrends Virtual Backup. Here we are now in the Unitrends Virtual Backup web interface, and we want to complete a SharePoint recovery. Here's where you start. So navigate to the Recover section of the web interface and identify your SharePoint VM backup. Once you expand the VM, identify the restore point that you want to store items out of, and then select the Recover Files option across the top. Our restore point is selected, and at the bottom you can then choose how you want to access this data, CIFS, SCSI, or NFS. I'm going to leave the default CIFS option here enabled. Hit Create. Once that's completed, a CIF share is now exposed from our web interface as shown here, and we just simply copy those details, and then we're going to use that later to connect Kroll into it. So I open up the Kroll interface now, which I have installed on my local machine. Again, you can install Kroll on any Windows machine that you'd like. I've already mounted our target. The target is the live SharePoint site. Again, remembering that you must install that Agent for Content Transfer Service on the SharePoint web server in order for this to become accessible. That's a simple wizard walkthrough right here. We identify the URL of your SharePoint site and then identify the credentials to authenticate and connect to your site. Once that's mounted, again, it'll provide access to here within the Kroll interface in the bottom half. We then want to go ahead and mount the backup, which is being presented by UVB. So we'll add the source here, and what we want to do is add the SQL database files that are specific to your SharePoint data. We now want to identify and point curl to the MDF and LDF SQL files. So when the prompt opens up, we'll now paste that SIF share that's being exposed by Unitrends Virtual Backup. We're now going to drill down until we find those files. And I'm going to point curl to the content database as well as the transaction log file. They're both now added. I can hit finish. It's now going to scan through those files, mount everything, and then bring it up within the curl interface here in a second. And so we now have two views. We have at the bottom, which is the live production environment, and at the top half is the actual backup view being presented by Unitrends Virtual Backup. So again, you're viewing very like images of the SharePoint structure here. And this allows you to now complete a recovery depending upon what type of item or object you're looking to recover. So for example, if I want to restore a document, it's simple drag and drop. So I can see in the SC Tools folder, I'm missing the VBA calculator document. So I just simply select this document, drag and drop it over into the target I want to restore into. So that restore is now completed. If I was to access the live SharePoint site, I would now see that document that I just recovered within curl. We can depend upon the number of files or elements looking to restore to simple drag and drop. You also can, as I said before, right-click a file and export that. So if you don't want to restore actually back to the live Exchange environment, you can export this out of SharePoint and just specify the target location where it should be exported to. Now, in the case that you're not sure what you're looking for, there is a search option within curl. So you'll see here with the search criteria, just about any attribute inside of SharePoint you can capture with these search fields here. And once the results are outputted here after the search is run, you'll have the same options. You can simply drag and drop to the live Exchange environment, or again, you can export outside of the curl interface. And keep in mind, again, these could be different versions. So this could be a 2007 SharePoint site, and this could be a 2010 SharePoint site. Again, you can restore across these and vice versa if you have a mixed environment. And outside of restoring just a document, you can restore full sites if you need to. Right, so again, this is our SharePoint site for sales engineering. If I wanted to, I could restore this entire site back into a live SharePoint web server. Once you're done the recovery, just simply close out everything. Then delete the mount point being presented by Unitrends Virtual Backup, and the restore is complete. At that point, you have completed your SharePoint recovery with curl in the Unitrends Virtual Backup solution. That concludes this video on completing SharePoint recoveries with Unitrends Virtual Backup. I'll see you in the next video.